I've noticed a pattern in DLC expansions as of late. When a game gets two, the first one is often much smaller than the second. That is how it worked with the Crown Tundra in Pokemon Generation 8, as well as Doom Eternal with the Ancient Gods Part 2. That trend stays strong with the Outer Worlds as well. We finally got the second expansion on the Switch, and I was quite pleased with how much it had. Here is my review of the Outer Worlds Murder on Eridanos for the Nintendo Switch. I'm going to be as spoiler free as I can with this, as there is a pretty big figure from the game's world involved. After watching an advertising campaign for Rizzo's new brown liquor, you are contacted by someone from the gas giant Eridanos to investigate a murder that took place there. You then trek around the floating islands of the gas giant, gathering evidence and interrogating various NPCs in the victim's life to find the culprit. Overall, I liked the expansion, and a lot of that stems from the characters involved and murder mystery plot. The expansion was very heavy on story and went into a lot of dark places. There's also a lot of attention to detail with info you get from terminal files being used in speech checks during the missions. And of course, the companion characters from the main story having a ton of unique and new dialogue for the new content. While Parvy had a lot of great stuff during Peril on Gorgon, Ellie is the standout here. She's got great commentary on what is going on and some really entertaining situations where you can let her play good cop, bad cop and get hilarious results. When it comes to gameplay and content, Murder is a sort of campaign expansion. Like Peril on Gorgon, you have a new planetary body to explore, with unique NPCs, dungeons, main missions, and side missions. Now before really getting started, this becomes available to the player once you have access to the Stellar Bay landing pad on Monarch. This is around the same point of the main story that Peril on Gorgon became available, so you're going to have to play the game for about 6 to 8 hours before being able to tackle this DLC, and for good reason. It has a recommended level of 30, with most of the speech checks requiring very high stat levels, and good experience balancing with you going in at level 29 or 30, getting you right to that new level cap of 36 by the time you're done. As we dive in, let us first talk about the star map and what Murder uses. I criticized Peril on Gorgon because it added a new body to the star map instead of using one of the unused planetary bodies already there. You know, the ones that have been on the map since the game came out that you never visit during the main story. This expansion does the smarter thing and makes one of those unused planets the locale for its campaign. It also presents itself as a very unique environment. Instead of a vast forest or set of caves, it is a collection of floating landmass propelled above the surface of a gas giant, all connected to a central island by large bridges. This is a bit different than the other planets in the game, and the central island is quickly solidified as a new hub early on, with you getting a hotel room that essentially replaces your ship during the campaign. You can board the Unreliable and leave if you so wish, but the hotel room is a fast travel point, has your entire roster of companions hanging out. It also comes with a terminal for reporting the main story missions and a workbench for upgrading and repairing equipment. Speaking of, we've got about 8 to 9 new main story missions for you to trek through, with a handful of alternate ones as you get closer to the end and have to choose between factions. Now of course you don't have to do all of these missions. This is a murder mystery, and once you interrogate and investigate 2 of the 4 to 5 people that are possible suspects, you can technically go straight to the main story and report them as the killer. But overall, it has a pretty beefy main story, even longer than the one from Peril on Gorgon. You're also given a new item and game mechanic with the Discrepancy Amplifier. It's a weapon that uses scope view to find clues towards the mystery you are trying to solve, with analyzing dead bodies, items in an environment, and footprints hidden from the naked eye. It will also change and talk to you when you get close to a clue it can see, giving you the ability to equip your normal weapons while fighting enemies, and knowing when to swap and look for the newest clue or set of footprints. Though I will admit, it's saying the same thing over and over again when I was following footprints did get pretty repetitive and annoying, but it is a neat little tool. Then we get to enemies and weapons. Outside of the discrepancy amplifier, we do have some standouts with new additions. The new revolver is a sort of chemical weapon, and you get an assault rifle that functions kind of like a biological shotgun. We've also got some unique outfits that were added, especially Halcyon Helen's costume from the Terror on Monarch poster that's all over the main game. Though you do have to think a little outside the box on how you are able to acquire that one. But not everything about this campaign is stellar. Most of the enemies are reskins of ones that appeared in the main campaign, and there's a pretty low amount of actual exploration and combat. The areas are plenty large for you to roam around and explore, though the murder mystery is so story heavy that it excessively outweighs how much fighting you do. The dungeons are significantly smaller and less maze-like than the main story, and before you know it, you're gonna be done with combat and right back to more story. Now don't get me wrong, the murder mystery is really good. It just feels like there is way too much of that and not enough fighting. But despite the imbalance, this is the longer of the two DLC expansions for the game. While Peril on Gorgon's main quest took me around 5 hours to complete, this one easily took over 7. I did the entire story on my 7-hour-long stream last week with a few side quests left over. Now let's get to presentation, or rather update 1.0.5. When Peril on Gorgon came out, we were on 1.0.3 and saw a little bit of improvement visually and with performance. And we're pretty much in the same boat here. 1.0.5 did enhance the visuals a little bit. The borders around the models are a little bit smoother and clearer, but not by a whole lot. When you're wandering around or doing story things, it plays nice and smooth, but we still have quite a few frame drops we get in combat, putting a lot of reliance on the time slowdown and motion aiming. As we wrap all of this up, the second DLC is a pretty beefy expansion that fans of the Outer Worlds will definitely enjoy. From the vast amount of story and lore drops to the unique environment it takes place in. Now on the downside, we have virtually no new enemy designs, and there's a big lack of balance between the heavy story and a small amount of exploration and combat. But it still did a lot of things right to make it worthwhile for those interested in the lore and characters of this world. Reviews to Go rates The Outer Worlds Murder on Eridanos for the Nintendo Switch an 8.5 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thank you for watching and have a great day.